ברוכים הבאים לטקס הענקת התארים לשם כבוד של אוניברסיטת תל אביב. למען אורחינו הרבים מחוץ לארץ, הטקס יתנהל ברובו באנגלית, ולפני שנתחיל אתם מתבקשים לכבות טלפונים ניידים. תודה רבה. Good evening, Excellencies, members of the Board of Governors, honorees, distinguished guests. Welcome to all of you who have come to be with us at this honorary degrees conferment ceremony at Tel Aviv University's International Board of Governors meeting 2013. We're especially honored to welcome the Speaker of the 19th Knesset, Knesset member Yuli Yoel Edelstein. Before we proceed, may I remind you to please turn off your cell phones. Thank you. We will now commence the ceremony with the academic procession. I invite the deans of Tel Aviv University to enter the hall. Professor Dina Prialnik, Vice Rector. Head of the Multidisciplinary Program in the Arts, the Katz Faculty of the Arts, Professor Dorit Tanai. Dean of the Fleischman Faculty of Engineering, Professor Ehud Heyman. Dean of the Sackler Faculty of Exact Sciences, Professor Yaron Oz. Dean of the Enton Faculty of the Humanities, Professor Eyal Zisser. Dean of the Buchman Faculty of Law, Professor Ron Harris. Dean of the Wise Faculty of Life Sciences, Professor Moshe Mevarech. Dean of the Faculty of Management, Leon Rekanati Graduate School of Business Administration, Professor Asher Tischler. Dean of the Sackler Faculty of Medicine, Professor Yosef Vikori. Dean of the Gordon Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Tommy Ronen Rosenbaum. I now invite the officers of Tel Aviv University to enter the hall. Professor Yaakov A. Frankel, Chairman of the Board of Governors. Dr. Giora Yaron, Chairman of the Executive Council. Professor Yosef Klafter, President. Professor Aaron Shai, Rector. I now invite tonight's honorees to please enter the hall. Professor Stanley Fisher. Mr. Leonard Blavatnik. Mr. Jeremy Koller. Professor Ray Jackendoff. Professor Robert S. Langer. Mr. Maurice Levy. Ms. Yehudit Yovel Rekanati. Professor Carla J. Schatz. Ms. Miriam Zohar Gelblum. Mr. Guillermo Swerdlin. Kindly be seated, ladies and gentlemen. I now invite the Tararam group to the stage. This vibrant and energetic group presents a young and fresh perspective on Israeli performance art by combining modern industrial themes together with Israeli and Middle Eastern influences. Tararam. Thank you very much to Tararam. I'm now honored to invite the Speaker of the 19th Knesset member Yuli Yoel Edelstein to come up and address the audience.
Good evening. You don't know how it looks from the other side. It looks very impressive, I have to say. Dear friends, governors of Tel Aviv University, the president of the university, Professor Klafter, the chairman of the Tel Aviv University Board of Governors, Professor Frankel, Professor Aaron Shai, rector, Dr. Giora Yaron, chairman of the Executive Council, Mr. Amnon Dick, chairman of the Friends of Tel Aviv University Association, deans, officers, Professor Stanley Fisher, recipient of the George Wise Medal Award, all the honorary doctorate recipients, ladies and gentlemen. I have to start with brutal honesty. I was very reluctant to come here. And the reason for that is not just the fact that I was not getting that kind of outfit. The reason was that I was very jealous. Can you imagine what it feels growing up when everyone around you in your family has a PhD and you don't? Can you imagine what it feels that you become a cabinet minister in Israel and you know for a fact that your mother is much more proud of your tzutzik younger brother because since he has been 25 years old, he could put the darned letters DR in front of his name, and I never could. So I am jealous, at least honoris causa, and I still couldn't get it. But on the other hand, you have to start looking for all kinds of explanations. How come that they all, my mother, my father, my younger brother, have these titles and I don't? And I could comfort myself with saying that they chose to lead this vita contemplativa and I chose vita activa. That's a kind of an explanation that could be very good probably for good old times, when Plato and Aristotle used to have those discussions about what is the real meaning of life, and when our sages, if you all recall, used to have that discussion in the Gemara with Rabbi Tarfon saying that action, maaseh, is greater, and Rabbi Akiva saying that Talmud, study is greater, and then all the others giving that wonderful solution that study is greater because it leads to action. No. But on the other hand, when you look at this group of people, you can't really tell what leads to what and how, because some who get honoris causa today, not because probably of the academic career, used to be part of the academic world or are part of the academic world, at least the students, some as faculty members. And when you look at the officers and deans of Tel Aviv University, the last thing you can say, and the faculty in general, the last thing you can say is that they don't lead vita activa. I do have to say that in my previous capacity as Minister of Public Diplomacy, in some cases I could even say, please have less vita activa in expressing certain things, but now I'm mamlachti, I'm the Speaker of the Knesset, so I won't go into it. But I do have to say on a more serious note that the academic world is really, the way we know it in Israel and the way we know Tel Aviv University, is the real pride of this country. And I think that looking at this group of people and many others, you understand that this whole idea of studying, this whole idea of studying in the academic sense of the word, in many cases, leshem shamayim, for the sake of studying, is definitely alive and vibrant in this country. And the achievements are great and they speak for themselves, and I won't start with all these obvious repetition of things that you all know very well. But to sum it up, and except for all my sincere blessings and congratulations to all the recipients of, be it a medal or a degree tonight, I will say that I am worried sometimes about something. Because in many cabinet discussions that I used to have in my previous, or used to participate in my previous positions, there is always this attitude, and I understand it completely, of lack of engineers and how come that not so and so many people sign up to study engineering, and lack of medical doctors, and how come that we in this country don't have enough medical doctors, unheard of. And sometimes I think that we miss something very important. That we are still a young country, and we are still a young society. And if I may have a personal request, and I know probably that I'm talking to, actually preaching to the converted in many cases here, but I would still make a personal request. Let us not neglect the classical understanding of the academic world, the humanities, be it history, be it literature, be the Jewish studies. Without it, I'm not sure that even if we have so and so many achievements in technology and in other fields, we will be a healthy society. Well, I did say that I preach to the converted, and I still, being not objective and being third generation to humanities, I think that it's very important to continue with that. And when I think about Tel Aviv University, to a very big extent, I think about it as being the place where still many students study and many teachers, professors teach in all these areas, L'Shem Shamayim, but it's not only L'Shem Shamayim. It's the same attitude of study that leads to action, leads to building a better society here in this country. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Knesset Member Edelstein. I now invite the Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Yaakov A. Frankel, to address you.
Speaker of the Knesset, Mr. Yuli Edelstein, Chairman of Tel Aviv University Executive Council, Dr. Giora Yaron, President of Tel Aviv University, Professor Joseph Klafter, our Rector, Professor Aaron Shai, Vice Presidents, Deans, and members of the Senate, members of the Board of Governors, esteemed honorees and guests, good friends, partners, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the diversity of this audience, men and women, Israelis and those who come from abroad, Sabras and immigrants, academics and non-academics, students and faculty, youngsters and not so youngsters. What links us all together? Such a diverse group. It is our basic optimism, our unshakable belief in the future, a deeply held conviction that nurturing talents and aspiring to excellence and enhancing Tel Aviv University and Israel's positive contribution to the world is indeed an extremely important cause. We all share this cause. We all share this vision. We all share and will go together to obtain and bring about the fulfillment of this mission. This is why we are here tonight. We are here to celebrate our shared optimism and belief in Tel Aviv University. And what about the rest of the world? How do we spread the message of Tel Aviv University's great contributions and even greater potential? Look at your right, look at your left, look at the rows behind you, look at the rows in front of you. We are the answer. We are the bridge. We are the vital connection between all that is wonderful about this university and greater society. The groundwork has been laid. The university disseminates knowledge widely. It pursues fruitful research collaboration and exchange with leading world institutions. It widens its network of international study and business partners practically every day. It trains the finest graduates for leadership roles in academia, in industry, in society. It deepens the bonds between Israel and diaspora communities and fosters inclusivity among people from various backgrounds, ethnicities, and nationalities. This very event serves as a testament and symbol of the connectivity and inclusivity that I'm talking about. We are proud to affiliate Tel Aviv University with our honorees tonight and welcome into our global family such exceptional achievers from Israel, the United States, Great Britain, France, Mexico, and elsewhere. So the groundwork has been laid, and now it is up to us, all of us together, to serve as ambassadors of the one and only Tel Aviv University. My dear friends, this is my first time welcoming you to the honorary degree ceremony and opening the annual Board of Governors meeting as the new chairman of the board. I was a student in this campus, I hate to say how many years ago, but if you don't guess, 50 years ago. I could not have dreamed what you said, the university survived 50 years, thank you. I could not have dreamed that I would be standing here before you tonight in this role and wearing this robe. It is a wonderful homecoming and a closing of a circle. It is a culmination of a lifelong bond with this great institution, a product of great people and leadership over the years. It also puts me in a unique position to put my optimism where my mouth is. I've witnessed the transformation of Tel Aviv University from a very small, fledgling institution into a global hub of groundbreaking research and teaching. Today, just being affiliated with the university fills me with pride, energy, and feeling that that all of us are doing something that will advance the next generation and our national aspiration and help us and our children live in a better world. I'm grateful and full of hope and anticipation as we embark together on this great mission of advancing Tel Aviv University together. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Frankel. I now invite the President of Tel Aviv University, Professor Yosef Klafter, to address the audience.
The university leadership, distinguished honorees, colleagues, friends, and guests. On behalf of Tel Aviv University, I would like to emphasize how delighted we are to welcome our new chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Jacob Frankel, who brings tremendous leadership experience to the position, and we are confident, Jacob, that your success will be our success. Three months ago, in March of this year, I had the opportunity to lead a small delegation of Tel Aviv University researchers and supporters to CERN in Geneva. Because of Tel Aviv University's major involvement in CERN experiments, our group was given rare access to the inner workings of the largest nuclear particle accelerator in the world. What scientists do there is to collide particles at extremely high energies. From the impact of these collisions, new particles flash into life, such as the famous Higgs boson that you probably heard of. Now, I'm not going to give you a lecture on particle physics simply because I'm not an expert in this. But what I would like to stress out of this story is the importance of impact. Impact, an overused word perhaps, but still one with drama and force. You take one thing, you apply it to another thing with such power and determination that something entirely new and possibly wonderful emerges. Having impact, having this kind of dramatic, forceful, transformational effect defines our 10 honorees tonight. Whether in private business or public life, in the sciences or the arts, In Tel Aviv University, or in the world at large, these distinguished individuals have had tremendous impact and influence on their fields, on their communities, and on society. One of the honorees has helped close to 150,000 victims of trauma to rebuild their lives. Another has generated 800 patents for new medical devices and drugs. 4 have contributed directly to keeping business and entire economies robust and prosperous. Others have completely reshaped linguistics, neuroscience, media, and theater. But that is not all. Having made an impact in their personal careers has not satisfied them. Each one of our honorees is also, and here I quote one of them, a cheerleader and a catalyst for young people. As leaders, teachers, mentors, and donors, they are encouraging and shaping the next generation. They are seeking, in the words of another honoree tonight, to have real effect and to leave behind cultural legacy. We at the university, whose mission is to encourage and shape new generations, identify utterly with these deeds and this vision. Our governors and supporters, many of them are here tonight, some of them brought their children and grandchildren, identified with this vision as well. The word impact sums up what we are recognizing tonight, and we aspire to leave behind as our legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Klafter. I now invite the Rector of Tel Aviv University, Professor Aaron Shai, to address you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As the Rector of Tel Aviv University, and on behalf of our scholarly community here, I am privileged to present our honorary doctorate, the recipients of the highest degree we award, Doctor Philosophiae Honoris Causa, the university's highest awards, to the esteemed public gathered here today, friends of our university, friends of our community. I am also proud to greet the recipients of the Honorary Fellowship and the George S. Wise Medal. All the recipients of these awards signify unique and admirable examples of academic and public achievements. The fact that it is seemingly almost impossible to think of an immediate common denominator or draw a direct line between our laureates demonstrates the uniqueness of our community. The fact that our honorees come from such diverse walks of life reflects Tel Aviv University's standing as the major comprehensive institution of higher education in Israel. Indeed, one can hardly find a field which is not represented in our curriculum, in our daily activities. Tel Aviv University, in its academic research activities, in its well-known public enterprises, is the common basis for the extraordinary persons we have the honor to host and present to you today. Indeed, research, teaching and education, and contribution and service to society are the three missions, the three major watchwords we uphold and cherish. Examining our dear laureates today, we can easily see that each one of them, in his or her unique way, represents and indeed has contributed to at least one or two of the missions we pursue, be it an extraordinary contribution to society and philanthropy, with unique warmth, compassion, the theater, and remarkable acting, pioneering in business, and of course academic leadership in the most advanced scientific fields of nanomedicine and biotechnology, biology, neuroscience, I would even dare say the art of the brain, cognition, and linguistics. No doubt, our esteemed guests here today definitely deserve the honor we grant them. They have navigated each in its own particular way an admirable and original path in their respective careers. Indeed, we are gathered in this hall in order to thank them for their contribution and pay them a modest token of appreciation. We welcome them and bestow upon them our genuine sense of obligation and gratitude in the form of the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa, the Honorary Fellowship, and the George S. Wise Medal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Shai. I now invite Professor Frankel and Professor Klafter to award the George S. Wise Medal to Professor Stanley Fisher. This is to witness that on the 6th day of June 2013, the George S. Wise Medal was conferred upon Professor Stanley Fisher, outgoing governor of the Bank of Israel and Tel Aviv University honorary doctor, in recognition of his achievements as one of the world's foremost economists and policymakers, his exemplary leadership of the Bank of Israel, and his masterful handling of the Israeli economy during the global financial crisis, his decades-long commitment to and impact on the growth and prosperity of the State of Israel, his instrumental role in shaping international economic policy during his term as first managing director of the International Monetary Fund, and his far-reaching contributions in the economic sphere, both in guiding new generations of students around the world and in producing an impressive oeuvre of economics publications in the fields of monetary theory, inflation, and international economics. Signed, Professor Jacob A. Frankel, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Joseph Klafter, President. Professor Fisher, you are invited to respond.
President Klafter, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Jacob Frankel, my friend of 43 years, with whom I wrote several of the first papers we ever wrote, both of us, in economics. Ladies and gentlemen, students and faculty, it's a great honor for me to receive this award after having received 12 years ago an honorary doctorate of this university. Before Smolars was built, I think we were at the Opera House that night, and I received that in the presence of my very large family in Israel, many of whom, unfortunately, are no longer with us. It was a great honor being there, but I certainly didn't think that 12 years later I'd be receiving a further award, the George Wise Medal, for the work primarily for the work I had done as governor of the Bank of Israel, Among the reasons I didn't expect to have received the medal was that I had no idea that I would ever become governor of the Bank of Israel, but that happened 4 years later. And about all that, I can only say what I've said often. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve as governor of the Bank of Israel. It doesn't usually come to foreigners to receive offers to run the National Central Bank. It's happened again recently in the case of Britain, but it is for me, it was for my wife Rhoda, a remarkable privilege to have been accepted into Israeli society, into the Israeli government, and to have had the good fortune of serving as governor of the Bank of Israel. The award was given in part for what the Bank of Israel achieved during the global recession, and I can say that much of the credit for what was achieved during that period and subsequently is due to my professional colleagues at the bank, to the professional staff, as well as to colleagues in the rest of the government. And with regard to the Bank of Israel, I was building on a foundation of reform of the Central Bank of Israel's approach to the markets, to the financial markets, which Jacob Frankel had been in many ways responsible for. I want to add a few comments about what it's like to live in Israel. Israel is a wonderful country, and Israelis are remarkably talented people. Life here is very pleasant, as long as you're not in the public sector. But when you are in the public sector, I used to keep being asked, are you enjoying your job? It took me a long time to figure out the answer, because like every job, you're not enjoying every single moment of it. But the real answer is, I haven't had a job which has given me as much satisfaction in believing that I was contributing to the state as any job I've ever had before. What Israel has achieved in its 65 years of existence is amazing. Much of that success is due to the quality of its people and to the education they have received. The school education and the university education and the college education, the university education at the great universities of Israel, among them Tel Aviv University. But if Israel is to continue to be successful, it will have to focus on maintaining and strengthening its systems of education, both in the schools and in institutions of higher learning. Israel is under budgetary pressure all the time, but there are certain investments that take a very long time to mature, and that you have to make them well in advance of the time that they will come to fruition. Education is prime among those investments, and it is essential that Israel continue to invest in this critical field. It's critical for humanitarian reasons. It's critical for the economic success of this country. And if that effort is made, we can be sure that Tel Aviv University will play a leading part in generating the leaders of the future of this great country. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Fischer. We now come to the conferment of the Doctor Philosophiae Honoris Causa. I would ask Professor Klafter and Professor Shai to please come forward to the center of the stage. I invite Mr. Leonard Blavatnik to please come forward. The Senate of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Leonard Blavatnik in recognition of his remarkable accomplishments as a prominent, highly successful, and self-made American businessman and philanthropist of Russian Jewish origin. His entrepreneurial prowess in founding Access Industries and expanding its holdings to include natural resources, media, telecommunications, real estate, technology, and life sciences. His outstanding generosity in advancing a wide range of social, educational, Jewish, and cultural causes in Israel, Europe, Russia, and the United States, and in special recognition of his deep commitment toward the State of Israel, both as investor and benefactor. His active promotion of excellence in higher education and research at leading academic institutions in Israel and the world, among them Harvard University, Oxford University, and the New York Academy of Sciences. And his support of Tel Aviv University, particularly its School of Computer Science, which bears his name, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophiae Honoris Causa of Tel Aviv University. I invite Mr. Jeremy Collar to please come forward to receive his honorary degree. The Senate of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Jeremy Collar in recognition of his accomplishments as one of the most successful and influential financiers of his generation, his outstanding entrepreneurial acumen in founding and leading Collar Capital, one of the largest global firms in the secondary private equity market, his vision in guiding the evolution of private equity as an asset class for which he has received a host of accolades, including the Industry Leader Award, and in special recognition of his commitment to the worldwide teaching and research of entrepreneurship and innovation as a means of bolstering the economy, and his endeavors to develop global venture capitalism by forging stronger connections between the academic and business communities, including most recently his establishment of the Collar Institute of Venture at Tel Aviv University, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophiae Honoris Causa of Tel Aviv University. I invite Professor Ray Jackendorf to please come forward. The Senate of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Ray Jackendorf in recognition of his standing as one of the world's most eminent linguists and philosophers, his seminal research over 35 years that has challenged prevailing linguistic theory by proposing a complex interplay between syntax, semantics, sensory input, and culture. His path-breaking and much-cited works, among them the monumental Foundations of Language, which has become canonical, and in special recognition of his transformation of linguistics into an interdisciplinary field by combining it with cognitive and developmental psychology, philosophy of mind, evolutionary biology, neuroscience, and computational linguistics, and his deep connection with the State of Israel, both as a warm friend and a visiting professor in the country's universities, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophiae Honoris Causa of Tel Aviv University. I invite Professor Robert S. Langer to please come to the center of the stage. The Senate of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Robert S. Langer in recognition of his undisputed standing as the world's foremost nanomedical scientist, most cited engineer, and most prolific biotechnologist. His groundbreaking discoveries that have changed the landscape of the pharma, chemical, biotech, and medical device industries. His pioneering of entirely new biomedical techniques, such as non-invasive drug delivery and engineered blood vessels. His decades-long contribution to human health and well-being, which has garnered him over 200 major awards, among them the United States National Medal of Science, the Wolf Prize, and the Tel Aviv University-affiliated Dan David Prize. And in special recognition of his outstanding advancement of academic industrial links and promotion of scientific entrepreneurship, his enthusiasm in nurturing new generations of nanomedical experts, among them many Israelis, and his friendship toward Israel and fruitful collaborative ties with Tel Aviv University by conferring upon him the degree of Dr. Philosophiae Honoris Causa of Tel Aviv University. I would now invite Mr. Maurice Levy to please come forward. The Senate of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Maurice Levy in recognition of his standing as one of the most influential figures in France and in the worldwide media industry. His entrepreneurial acumen in transforming Publicis Group from a regional advertising agency into the world's third largest communications conglomerate and a leader in innovation and technology. His remarkable vision in recognizing the importance of an international business model years before the global village became a reality. His promotion of tolerance and diversity as a core principle of his corporate culture, for which he was awarded the International Leadership Award of the Anti-Defamation League. And in special recognition of his commitment to nurturing a durable peace in the Middle East through economic development, his true friendship toward the State of Israel, and his committed and engaged role in Tel Aviv University's French Friends Association spanning decades, by conferring upon him the degree of Dr. Philosophiae Honoris Causa of Tel Aviv University. אני מזמינה את הגברת יהודית יובל רקנתי לבוא לקדמת הבמה. הסנאט של אוניברסיטת תל אביב החליט לכבד את יהודית יובל רקנתי, לאות הוקרה אל היותה מנהיגה מן השורה הראשונה בתחומי הפילנתרופיה, העשייה החברתית וההתנדבות האזרחית, על החזון יוצא הדופן שהקימה בשותף עם דוקטור יוסי הדר, זיכרונו לברכה, את נט"ל, נפגעי טראומה על רקע לאומי, אשר הפך לארגון נושא הדגל לשיקום הנפגעים ומשפחותיהם, לשיפור הטיפול למניעת פסיכוטראומה, להעלאת מודעות הציבור והפצת הידע, על הרוח ההומניטרית הנדיבה שלה בתמיכה במגוון יוזמות תרבותיות, רפואיות וחברתיות בתחום הרווחה, המשפרות את איכות החיים בישראל, ולאות הוקרה מיוחדת על מסירותה מעומק הלב לחיזוק מרקם החברה הישראלית, ועל כך שהקדישה את חייה לסייע לאלה שלא שפר מזלם. על כך זכתה בעיטורים לרוב, ובהם אות הנשיא למתנדב, ולהכתירה בתואר דוקטור לשם כבוד לפילוסופיה של אוניברסיטת תל אביב. I now invite Professor Carla J. Schatz to come forward to receive her honorary degree. The Senate of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Carla J. Schatz in recognition of her accomplishments as one of the world's leading neurobiologists, her influential research on early brain development and neuroplasticity, which led to a paradigm shift in understanding brain connectivity, her groundbreaking discoveries, which have gained her numerous honors and broad popular recognition, her esteemed leadership of the scientific community, including as president of the Society for Neuroscience and as the first female chair of the Harvard Department of Neurobiology, and in special recognition of a distinctive interdisciplinary approach that combines fields as diverse as anatomy, chemistry, molecular biology, and physiology, and that led to her appointment as head of the prestigious BioX program at Stanford, and her vital contribution to strengthening the role of women in science as a trailblazer herself and as a mentor to others, by conferring upon her the degree of Dr. Philosophiae Honoris Causa of Tel Aviv University. אני מזמינה את הגברת מרים זוהר גלבלום לבוא לקדמת הבמה. הסנאט של אוניברסיטת תל אביב החליט לכבד את מרים זוהר גלבלום. לאות הוקרה על אומץ הלב ועוז הרוח שגילתה כאשר שרדה כילדה את הכיבוש הנאצי ברומניה, את מחנות העבודה באוקראינה ואת מחנות המעצר בקפריסין, על צמיחתה המופלאה מעולה חדשה לאחת השחקניות הישראליות האהובות והמוערכות ביותר בארץ, על הבמה, בקולנוע ובטלוויזיה. על הקריירה המפוארת שלה הנפרסת על פני 6 עשורים, שזיכתה אותה בעיטורים לרוב ובהם כלת פרס ישראל. על הרב גוניות שהיא מגלה בעודה מפיחה חיים בשלל דמויות קלאסיות ומודרניות, בהפקות של התיאטראות הנודעים ביותר בישראל, וביניהם הבימה בית לסין והתיאטרון הקאמרי. ולאות הוקרה מיוחדת על מסירותה לקידום המצוינות בפרשנות וביצירה האומנותיות אשר העשירו את החברה והתרבות הישראלית, ועל מחויבותה הנלהבת להכשיר דורות חדשים של אנשי במה ישראלים בדרך של הוראה, הדרכה ועידוד, ולהכתירה בתואר דוקטור לשם כבוד לפילוסופיה של אוניברסיטת תל אביב. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now award an honorary fellowship. I invite Mr. Guillermo Swerdlin to come forward to the center of the stage. The Executive Council of Tel Aviv University resolved to honor Guillermo Swerdlin in recognition of his standing as a prominent businessman and philanthropist, his engaged leadership of the Mexican Jewish community, including his service as president of Keren HaYesod, his staunch Zionism, and decades-long love affair with the State of Israel, which was only reinforced in 1984 when he made Aliyah. And in special recognition of his warm and long-standing friendship toward Tel Aviv University as both governor and generous benefactor, his vision in co-founding and leading the Spanish-speaking Israeli Friends of Tel Aviv University for the past decade, and his generous dedication, together with his wife Miriam, of the Swerdlin Institute for Latin American Studies in memory of their beloved son Norman, by conferring upon him an honorary fellowship of Tel Aviv University. Thank you, Professor Klafter. Thank you, Professor Shai. I would now invite Mr. Maurice Levy to please respond on behalf of the honorees.
Erev Tov, Mr. Chairman, dear Yaakov, Mr. President, dear Yosef, Messieurs les doyens, professors, dear friends, אני קצת נבוך לדבר בעברית, אותה למדתי בימי בר מצווה שלי. ובכל זאת אני בוחר לבטא את עצמי בשפת אבותי שעם ישראל החזר לחיים, ולספר לכם את הרגשתי במתעטף עמכם בטקס היפה הזה. אני מוקיר תודה מקדי לב לכל אלה שנתנו לי את הכבוד הזה. אוף. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, you are not doing me one immense honor this evening, but two. Not only have you chosen to distinguish me with this magnificent title of Dr. Honoris Causa, too bad that my mother is no longer with us, she would be very proud of me, you have also asked me to speak here on behalf of all other recipients in this very moving, very meaningful award. No words can express how humbled I feel by this. I am convinced that any one of my distinguished fellow recipients would have written and delivered a far better speech than I, to express the joy and the honor of being distinguished by a university so prestigious, so significant, and so charged with symbolic meaning. Tel Aviv is for me a city linked to deep and lovely memories, and to a history even longer or more profound. This university, which has in the past done me the honor of requesting that I deliver speeches or lectures on the very prosaic subject of my profession, is also one of the world's most respected centers of research and learning. I am a fervent admirer of Israel's achievement in the domain of education. This nation has always emphasized its mission of educating youth so that young people can build new skills and continue driving the perpetual and restless transformation of our society. Even when the country's own survival has been at stake, Israel has believed in the power of education for the future. And that, it seems to me, is the essence of Israel's greatness, its belief in mankind, its faith in the force of the future, and its investment in the vitality and intelligence of the young. Jules Romain, a French author, once said that young people are a slice of the future that is tossed before us. And Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who many of you will know as the father of Le Petit Prince, wrote, "When you want to build a ship, do not begin by gathering wood, cutting board, and distributing work. First, awaken within the heart of man the desire for the vast and endless sea. The University of Tel Aviv is strong and striving because you do this under the enlightened leadership of President Joseph Klafter. You are exceptional educators, work constantly, tirelessly, and how could I not cite here my friend Habash, Chaim Ben-Shara, Professor Emeritus of Economics, to wake in the heart of young men and women the desire to explore the vast and endless sea of human knowledge. It is just extraordinary to look back at the journey of the university from the first days in the 30s till today, with more than 30,000 students and fantastic research department in neuroscience and nanotechnology, to name but a few. Being one of the founders of the Institute for the Brain and Spine Disorder in Paris, I know the value of your work, your research, the quality of the professors, as well as the labs. Tel Aviv University epitomizes Israel's thirst for knowledge, for education, and for giving to youth the keys for the future. Knowledge, education are indispensable to mankind to grow and to build their own future. They are also the only and the shortest path to peace. I am convinced that under the leadership of your new chairman of the board, my dear friend Jakob Frankel, the university can only grow and go from strength to strength. Your future is bright. This is the internet era. People are calling our system of production the knowledge economy. It is fast-paced, breakneck, constantly surprising, impossible to predict. The skill that our young people must need to hang on to is the ability to pilot their way through change. Whatever we think we can be certain of today may well be swept away tonight by the tide, and tomorrow it will come to seem deluded and mistaken. But at the same time, it is important that our youth feel grounded in a rich understanding of their history so that they can construct strong communities and fill their lives with meaning that is rich and deep enough to live by. The human desire for fulfillment is not just about individual pleasure or a certain level of material possession. It is about work that provides a deep sense of purpose and which reflects our values, passions, and personality. Work that helps building peace. You who are present here today at Tel Aviv University are dedicated to the task of helping our young people find that grounding, that sense of core balance and purpose, so that they can define their deeper goals and remain steady amid the constant rush of new opportunities and disappointment. I would like to thank all the many people who have joined this ceremony for coming to support all of us. And I would like to say one word to my wife, who is supporting me since 50 years, 5-0. But more importantly, I'd like to warmly thank you for this honor that you will bestow this evening on all of us. It means a great deal, more than what I can say. Thank you.
Toda Rabba, thank you, Mr. Levy. And now I'm pleased to invite Tararam back for a musical interlude. Thank you very much to Taram. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this evening's ceremony. We ask you to please rise for Hatikva, the national anthem.
כל עוד בלבב פנימה נפש יהודי הומיה ולפתי מזרח קדימה עין לציון צופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים.
Kindly be seated, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our proceedings for this evening. We would like to invite you all to a gala reception in the Cookie and Sergio Groskop family foyer. Please remain seated if you would until the honorees and members of the Presidium have left the hall. Toda rabba she'aytem itanu. Erev tov.